Now, every day, around 100 people register as blind or partially sighted in the UK. BBC Radio Berkshire's Matt Treacy is in Kingsclear this morning at a charity which helps to bring stories to life with those with sight problems. Hi, Matt.
Hi there, Sarah. Yeah, and on the outside, it might look like a normal industrial estate in West Berkshire, but inside these buildings, something really quite incredible is happening, and I'm looking forward to exploring it throughout the morning. With me is the person in charge of Living Paintings, Camilla Oldland. Just first of all, explain what Living Paintings does, first of all.
Good morning, Matt. Living Paintings is a national charity, so let's get that sorted out, first of all. And our purpose is to help blind and partially sighted people of all ages, whether they're 2 or 92, to actually be able to explore pictures. Because if you think about it, in your life, in all our lives, when you're a child, all those amazing pictures in the books that we read, those illustrated stories like the Gruffalo, and how they enhance what we learn all the way through our lives. So our main purpose is actually to do that, is to help blind and partially sighted people understand those pictures.
And it's amazing, actually, Sarah, just as I look through this book, we've got a copy of the Gruffalo here, and the first few pages are of I suppose, pop-up snakes. It's kind of, you can feel your finger along it. It's been hand-painted carefully by the volunteers that are here. And it's worth pointing out, Camilla, that this isn't a new operation. This has been going for a few years and is steeped in history in a way.
It is, yes. It's been going for about 20 years, and I've been with it for about 20 years, which is a little bit scary now. But yes, we started a long time ago, and in fact, it was my mother's inspiration. She was an art historian, and to cut a long story short, she wanted another dog, but she didn't want a puppy that was going to chew the furniture, and so she went to guide dogs, and in those days, you could get given a rejected guide dog. So we had this lovely dog called Emma, who was really not very bright, who came to live with us, and Mum wanted to raise some money for guide dogs to say thank you, so she gave a series of lectures, and to one of those lectures came their fundraising director, and he was blind, and so she was really aware that she was projecting these beautiful paintings, and this man in the front row couldn't actually see them, so she was very careful with the way that she actually described the paintings, and from there, he loved the experience so much that he actually asked her to start making recordings of her describing paintings. And they then went off to the National Gallery on a little trip, and he was making, she was marking out the features on his hand. And so the seed of the idea was, what about if we use sound and we use touch to replace the missing sense of sight? And that's where it all came from.
It's an inspirational story, Sarah, using all these different sounds and touches and incredible books, really well made. I'm going to find out how they're made here in West Berkshire in the next hour.
Brilliant stuff. Matt Treacy in Kingsclear this morning. More than 200... So BBC Radio Berkshire's Matt Treacy is in Kingsclear this morning, going behind the scenes at a charity which brings stories to life for those with sight problems. What's going on, Matt?
I've never really given it any, these kid books here. I'm looking at one now, The Lion Who Wanted to Love, and you'd open these books and they have such wonderful illustrations in. If you're blind and can't see them, how do you get the enjoyment out of these kids' books? Well, I'm here at Living Paintings. That's exactly what they do here. One of the guys who runs the shop here is Liz. Liz, run exactly how you make these wonderful pop-out drawings exactly. Where do you start?
Morning, Matt. Well, we start really with asking the publisher for permission to adapt the book.
Sure.
These are books that, you can buy in bookshops online, popular authors and illustrators, popular characters. And so we get the permission from the author and the illustrator. And then obviously we want to create the lovely feely pictures that go into the book and insert the braille. So we rip the book apart, we insert the braille on the clear plastic sheets. That's the braille.
And in a way, you'd expect the braille there, because that's the text in the book.
Yeah.
And then these illustrations that you put in are really quite unique, though, and they're on a kind of plastic sheet. How does it come to this kind of finished book with a hand-painted feely drawing on it?
Well, we start by reading through the book and picking out the characters and scenes that we think will help tell the story. Here I've got a line drawing of the character, the lion cub, and we've basically traced around one of the pictures in the book and slightly simplified his sort of seated position there, so the blind child's fingers can feel around the character. And this is a line drawing that we then give to our carver. Len Webb, who's a local volunteer, created this one here.
It's fantastic. It's on wood, and you can really see amazing carving of this lion character, and you can run your finger over and feel the ears and the mane and the paws. It's fantastic. A piece of art in its own right.
Yeah. And then what we do is we create what we call a feely picture of the carving. So we put it in this amazing thermopress here.
It's a big kind of machine on the edge of the desk here.
And it's a vacuum former. So we put that in the bottom there. And then we just put a thin piece of plastic, which we then melt with a heater over the wooden image. Heater heats up.
Yeah, I can see the plastic going all molten now. Machine goes on.
Switch it on, and then it sucks over the image.
Wow. Oh, there it goes.
And I'm just going to...
And a lion is just kind of formed in this piece of plastic.
Yeah.
And that's the finished article. And then these are hand-painted and put into books. Thousands are made every year. It's a fascinating process, but it's not the only part that goes into these books, Sarah, and I'm going to be finding out some of the audio that goes into these books as well in the next hour.
Brilliant stuff. Matt Treacy in Kingsclear for us this morning. It's fascinating, isn't it? Just gone 10 to 8.
BBC Radio.
In the meantime, let's go back to Kingsclear, where we can find BBC Radio Berkshire's Matt Treacy, who is going behind the scenes at a charity there, helping people with sight problems, Matt.
Yeah, Sarah, it's called Living Paintings, and we've already discovered the way that they make books that have different pictures that are actually raised up off the page so that you can feel them, so that you can touch them, and it's specifically aimed at people who can't see that well or may be blind, a lot of children, but from 8 to 80 really. And I'm with Liz, one of the people who's in charge of producing these books, and it's really lots of different elements that go into it. We've seen how some of the pages created, some of the braille, and here we're in a kind of audio workshop. Liz, tell me about this element of the production.
Well, this is our sound studio, and all our lovely voices that lend their voices to the audio guides, they come into our studio. We've got the sound desk here, which you're using to broadcast this morning, which is great.
We're nicking it.
and our PC here. And if we just walk through to the studio...
We're going to go up to this giant big door and go into this big heavy studio.
Step through this huge door, and then here's a lovely seat where we've had lots of fantastic famous voices such as Terry Wogan and Julian Fellows, everyone who loves Downton Abbey at the moment. He's a fantastic supporter of Living Paintings. Timothy West and Prunella Scales, they have a canal boat in Hungerford Locks. They come in as well.
So plenty of famous people have been in here, and what added extra element do these famous voices give to the audio that goes with the books that you lend out here?
Well, of course we do audio for children and adults. So the scripts that we're creating for the children, they need kind of character voices, lots of funny anecdotes, all sorts of things like that, people snoring on the audio, making noises, and creating a bit of drama. And then for the adults, it's great to have familiar voices from TV and radio, such as Julian Fellows, who are lending their voices and describing the tactile images that the audience are feeling.
And Sarah, I've been given a little taster as to the kind of things they do. This is far more than an audiobook version of whatever you might be reading or in this case touching. It's fully descriptive. Whenever a lion needs to roar, you hear a full-on roar. You hear beautiful descriptions of some of the artwork and the imagery in these books, and it's really a multi-sensory experience to try to get across what to you and I is a pretty simple kids picture book, but to people who can't see it really does give them that way of being involved and being able to enjoy these books.
I'm wondering if we can get BBC Radio Berkshire's Matt Treacy featuring in one of these books before the end of the morning. I'd love you to be able to be inserted into a machine and come out the other side, sort of encapsulated in wood and cardboard. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
That would be incredible and slightly scary.
Yeah, it would do. More from Matt after 8:30 this morning.
Wake up to Berkshire News and Berkshire